Open up your brown book, baby. It's for you, it's for us. The fantasies, no one can judge us, no one can judge us. This is for us. Open up your brown book, baby. It's for you.
Hey y'all, hey, it's your girl Shay Baby from the Brown Book series, and welcome back. First of all, before we go on, I just want to say thank you to everyone that rocked with the Brown Book series for season 1. And today's episode is the first episode in season 2. We made it a year, y'all. So, oh my God, I'm just happy. I just want to say thank you to everybody who, like I said, rock with your girl. We have so much coming up in this year that I can't say on some of it, but not on all of it, you know. I gotta do what my grandpa say. He used to be like, baby, wait till the ink dry. So once the ink dry, we'll let you guys know everything that we got going on this year. But to start off season 2, y'all, I had to go get me a 2 times USA Today's best-selling author. I just had to go get her, you know. I'm like, it's Women's History Month. It's starting season 2 of the Brown Book series. And I had to just figure out, girl, how you get 10? What you do, honey? 10 times? What? Yes, she's a beast in her own right, and I love everything about her. So, Brown Book series, please bring into the stage none other than Miss 10 times USA Today's award-winning author, Jess Michaels.
Hello. Wow, that's like such a nice introduction. I don't know if I can live up to that.
You can.
Congratulations on a year. That's so exciting.
Yeah, thank you so much. And that's why I was like, okay, who are we gonna start season 2 with? Yeah.
I know. Wow. Let's see, I didn't realize. Like now it's just a lot of pressure to be awesome. So I'll do my best.
You know, that's what we want to, because you do good with pressure, Jess.
I do.
Yes.
I'm a diamond. So I just get better under pressure.
You know what? I absolutely love it. Speaking of diamond, ma'am, can you tell us a little bit about Miss Jess Michaels?
So I write a historical romance set in the Regency period, and I've written for a really long time. My 91st book comes out on Tuesday, so tomorrow, and I've been traditionally published. I'm completely indie now. We live in Dallas, where we froze recently, but we did okay, thank goodness. And I'm married to the best person in the world, and we have one of the cutest dogs of Romancelandia, someone told me, so I will take that.
That is so freaking sweet. I absolutely love it. So, Jess, girl, let's just start it off.
Okay.
10 times USA.
Yes.
10 times. So when you got to be like 9th, was you like, okay, I'm gonna get this another time. I'm shooting for 10 and that's it.
So I had this. Oh no, I'll keep going forever. It's never gonna be enough. But,
right.
So the 9th time was the 8th book of the 1797 Club series, which was my most popular series. And so I had 2 books left in the series, and I thought that the 9th one might be it, but it didn't hit it, and so it ended up being the 10th. So it was the last book of the super popular series. It was the 10th time that I hit the USA Today, and I kind of liked that symmetry. So I've been good with the fact that was the last time I hit it recently. But yeah, it was a big shock. When I was traditionally published, I was told specifically by certain people at my publishing house that I would never be a USA Today bestselling author. It would never happen.
Hold on. Because I was going to ask you about that too, because you went hybrid. No, you went.
I'm completely indie now. Yeah. I have books that are still traditionally published because they still have the rights, but I don't traditionally publish anymore. I only publish indie.
I noticed that, and I'm like, you're the only. Let me think. Hold on, Shay, because honey, they'll call you back and be like, girl, you remember? When I read that, I was like, oh, she's not hybrid at all. She completely said, I'm out. I'm on my own.
Yeah.
Y'all, let's go.
A little bit, yes, of that. Yeah.
Was that the reason though? Because they told you that you're never going to be?
I mean, I didn't have particularly great experiences with traditional publishing. I'm very, very fast. I'm super, super driven. And there's not any publisher on earth, the best of them or the worst of them, that's going to let you write and publish as much as I do independently. So I never could live up to that drive. So I wasn't happy with that. But I mean, certainly the extremely negative experience that I had with my original publisher did not help that. I mean, it put me on a path of wanting to do something where I didn't have to. I don't have to live up to anyone else's expectations except for my own. I don't have to live up to anybody's rules except for my own. And that allows me a lot more freedom. I mean, we have to do a lot more work. I have to do a lot more work. But at the same time, it's worth it because it's good work, because it's work for me. Because that's the thing. I mean, like in any traditional publishing experience, I mean, no one cares about your career as much as you do.
True.
And no matter who you publish with, no matter how great your agent is, like none of them care about your career as much as you do, because I'm the one that has to pay my bills. I'm the one that, you know, is the one doing all that work to write the book. And so for me, it made a lot more sense to go independent and just kind of run it all myself. And it's worked out. So, but the USA Today thing's really funny because I had just kind of said, okay, well, I guess I'm never going to hit it. But when I went indie in 2015, the first couple of months, I was doing really well, and we could see financially it was going to be a real success. And I was like, okay, well, this is great. Like I can really support my family, and you know, we can do this, and this is going to be great. And then we were looking for a new house, and we had gone house hunting in another state. And we came back, and my book had been out, and it was the USA Today always comes out Wednesday of the week. And so it was Wednesday. We'd just gotten back. Like I didn't have any makeup on. We came back, we unloaded the car, and I knew that the book had sold. I mean, I could look at it on Amazon and then the other retailers. I could see that it had done pretty well the previous week. And I thought, I'm just gonna pop in and just look. Like it's not gonna be on there, but I'm just gonna look. My husband was like, cool, I'm gonna like run, take a shower real quick, and I'll be out and we can go get dinner. I'm like, cool.
Right.
So I can hear him in the bathroom, and I open it, and it's number 149 on the USA Today bestseller list. And I just started screaming. So he thinks I'm being murdered, and he's like in the shower naked. And I come in and I'm like, because I can't, like, I'm like the only person that could have understood it was dogs, because I was just screeching. And he was like, what's going on? He thought someone was dead. He's like trying to get out. He's getting out of the bathroom. Like, he's like, what is happening? What is happening? I'm like, hey, USA Today. And then he sort of figured it out. So we have this great picture of me sitting on the floor in our bathroom, leaning against we had this big like garden tub, and he had gotten dressed at this point. He got dressed, and then he went and he took a selfie. So I'm sitting on the floor just like, just crying. And he's like, of course, his big smile. So that was the first time I hit the USA Today. And it was nice because it was sort of a surprise. It wasn't something that I was sitting there like angsting about anymore. I was like, it's probably not going to happen. Maybe at some point it'll happen, but I didn't know like what was the threshold, like what, I didn't know any of that stuff. So it was all just complete surprise. And then, so in some ways it was kind of the most perfect way for that to happen.
That's what's up. I'm just so happy it worked out for you though. Cause like you said, a lot of people that went indie, they had to go back to the publishing companies because it's a lot of, it's a lot of work out here.
Yeah. Well, I think it's harder if you can't really consistently produce, just because it's hard to keep ahead of they call it the algorithm, right? So what gets shown, if you're writing more and you're publishing more quickly, you get shown more often to the readership, so that means you can get more momentum essentially. And so I naturally write very quickly, so it very much suits my way of doing things, and I'm a control freak. And also my husband works for me full time. I mean, he runs all the publishing side of that completely. So he's sort of does the publishing part and all the technical part, and I just get to sort of write books. So I have a lot of privilege in that I have someone that knows how to do that and is willing to do that and is very supportive in doing that. And that allows me to have a lot more time to write and produce. So
girl, ain't nothing like a supportive husband, honey. I
basically the best.
Right. I love that.
I mean, he thinks I was being murdered and immediately got out of the shower, which I really appreciated, and then also was very excited for me. So,
he came directly, if you were getting murdered, he ran right into the kill.
He was ready to go. And then he just realized I was happy, because we could not tell the difference because I was just screaming. The cats were not happy. They're like, Mom is yelling. Are we good? Are we dead?
I love it. That is so funny. So listen, okay, so even though now you are completely indie, it's a wrap, like, yo, middle finger to them, I'm doing this thing. How hard though was it for you to get published in the beginning? Like when you start writing, you was like, okay, I'm going to write my story and I'm going to send it out. Like how hard was it for the first person to come to you and be like, you know what, Jess?
Yeah.
I like this girl.
So I started writing full-time in 1999. My husband worked for a big tech company at the time, and I was going to go back to school and get a degree. And he said, you don't seem very happy when you're working on this stuff for going back to school, but you seem really happy when you're writing. So I don't understand why you just don't do that. And then we'll never miss the income and you can just focus on that. And I said, oh, okay. Again, best person in the universe.
Right?
Yeah, he's great. So, so that's what I did. And so from 1999 until 2004, I was writing and submitting and trying to get an agent and all that stuff. I had a couple agents, we had parted ways, and I was on my agent who represented me all through traditional publishing. And one day she just called me and said, HarperCollins, Avon wants to offer you a 2-book deal for historical romance. So, I mean, it was 5 years of writing and submitting and being rejected. And I stopped counting after like 100 rejections. At some point, after I sold the book, I was like, I'm going to burn all these rejections in a ceremonial fire. We built a fire and I started putting them in there and almost burned our house down because I was like, there were too many.
Yes.
I was like, this maybe was a bad idea. Should we put this out? So, but yeah, so it was a long road. I don't think that was necessarily a bad thing. I mean, those books, the book that sold was the book that was ready and it was the right time. And then I wrote for them from that book they bought in 2004. It came out in 2005. And then my last book with them came out in 2011. And then I wrote for Samhain, which was a smaller press from 2012 until end of 2014. And then I went on my own. So from 2005 until 2014, I was writing traditionally.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, Jess, why did you pick historical? Like, is that, you just like that? That's just your thing? Like, you're a research buff? What is it?
I think that was what I was reading. So, you know, at the time I was reading, like, that was kind of the heyday of like the Lisa Kleypas and, you know, and that sort of thing. And so I was reading a lot of historical romance since that was what I was interested in. And then, you know, in those early books, it was like learning to research and learning what that time period looked like and what it looks like in the pretend version of it. That's, you know, sort of romance like version. And then the more that I've done it, like the more what I'm really writing now is a Jess Michaels version of that world. Right. And the readership after this many books kind of knows what to expect from me, what they're going to get in my version. And so it doesn't take as much research now because it really becomes spot research of, well, if they're going to take a boat, how long would that take though? You know, versus like what would be appropriate attire for a ball. Like I'm kind of past that part, that more generic stuff and more into specific, you know, okay, if I want them to own a bookshop or make a bet, 50 pounds is too much. That's that's like $10,000. No, it's not that much, but like how much does this amount of money equal in that time? So you're not being crazy, you know, when you make a wage or whatever. So, really that's what it was. Just that's what I like to read. It's still just, I don't really want to write anything else.
Okay. That's what I was going to ask you. Now, speaking of writing, you have a few pen names.
Yeah. So,
why? Because you write historical in all of them, right?
No. So, my original pen name was Jess Michaels.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote 2 shorter, like they were part of an anthology for a really small press. And when I sold to HarperCollins, at that point, they were doing something they were calling the debut program. So they had a class of debut authors that they did the whole year. They wanted to include me in that, but because I already had a backlist technically for Jess Michaels, they were like, well, what if you just had a new name? And then that new name would be a debut. Gotcha. So they were kind of, because there wasn't like massive distribution or anything. It wasn't necessarily a lie, but it was just that they, like, if someone went and clicked Jess Michaels, they'd be like, but it's not a debut. Right. So technically, so then I wrote under Jenna Peterson. That's what I wrote as for most of HarperCollins, although this is so confusing. So Jess Michaels was more erotic romance, more erotic historical. And then
hold on, wait. I'm sorry. Raunchy was the word they used.
Erotic. No, erotic.
Erotic. Oh, okay. I thought we was reading one of the reviews and they said that your book was like a raunchy book or something like that.
Yeah, it was like I think the new one that I had posted was borderline pornography, and someone was like, borderline, and I'm like, I know, I've disappointed everyone. I've always written very, very sexy books. Even the Jenna books were very sexy, but the Jess Michaels books were really structured as erotic.
Okay.
So that was also the difference between them. And then what I wrote is Jessie Peterson, which is my real name, was urban fantasy, and there were just a handful of those. So I wrote a book about a zombie apocalypse, and then also a support group for monsters that lived in New York City. So those were like not romantic comedy, it was like comedy with like monsters and zombies and that sort of stuff. But that was really short term. So, and then when I left HarperCollins, what was purchased from Samhain was closer to the erotic romance, and I was like, let me just do one name, and I don't want to do this other stuff. Like, I don't want to write under 3 different names. That's not really how my brain works. So everything else kind of went back on the shelf. But I haven't written actively as Jenna or Jessie since 2011.
Okay, because it's just been Jess Michaels. Yeah, I was looking back at it, and of course, when you did the post on Twitter, first of all, you were funny as hell on Twitter. That's when you yeah, I love it, girl. I was laughing so hard. You was like pornography, and then it's a raunchy book. I said, hold on, pornography, raunchy book.
That's the thing, though, right? Like, there's a because I don't describe it as raunchy or pornography. It's not either one of those things.
But listen, that's why I thought I missed something, because I was like, okay, I've read her books. Did I miss something?
They're super sexy, but this person clearly thought that was like the bar of pornography is very low for them. Yeah. It fully described love scenes, and there are many of them, like in every book that I read. Whether or not it's an erotic romance really is a structure issue. It's not a number of love scenes or heat of love scenes issue. That's not actually what erotic romance is. They don't actually have anything to, they do have something to do with each other, but there's like, erotic romance almost always has a element of the conflict, has a sexual element to it, because it's part of the structure of the story. It's part of the conflict of the story is whatever there's some sexual conflict in the story. So it's a structural thing. Which sometimes happens in my books now and sometimes doesn't. It just depends on what the story is, because I want it to fit, that like I'm writing a courtesan, there may be more of a sexual conflict than some, eye blinking virgin who I have to wait 60% of the book before I'm like, okay, I feel like they would maybe get it on now. Right? So it just depends on the book. But it's always a review, like it's always just a fun review to get, where it's like somebody had said sex, this book is only sex, and I'm like, that's gonna sell so many books.
Girl, I'm telling you, when I read that, I was like, hold on now, I missed that book. Pornography, where was this?
And that's the thing is actually, and I said this in the tweet, I love that review, because so many people will be like, it's a very sexy book. Yes, thank you. I'll take that. And they'll click it. And it was really funny watching that pre-order like jump up, because I was like, haha, because a whole bunch of people had ordered it. Which is why I shared it, because I was just like, this is that review that everybody wants to see. But the other side of that coin is that not everybody likes super sexy books. And so I would much rather them not buy the book, not waste their time, not waste their money, and then not leave a review where they're like, you write dirty porno books and you suck, which I'd rather not, because it's not true. I'd rather not waste everybody's time and money and end up with some 1-star review where somebody's just like, well, I don't like sexy books. And I'm like, I'm so confused, because I've written like 100 of them, and I don't understand how you could not know that's what I write. Like, I don't understand how you don't know. Like, if you go to my website, it literally says like, I like to write super sexy historical romance, and like, I have been labeled and identified as an erotic romance writer over the years. I don't understand why, but again, like that review, when it goes up on Amazon and it's on, I'm sure she's put it on Goodreads and stuff now. I don't really care. That doesn't bother me. She gives my book I think she gave it 3 stars and said, it's a dirty porn book. Like, that's great, because like, first off, she's entirely entitled to her opinion. Right. She didn't like it. It was too sexy for her. But it both brings people in who want that, and it pushes people away who are like, I don't want that, because everybody has a right to read what they want to read. I don't want somebody to waste their time. Life is so short.
We want that. We here at the Brown Book, we want that.
Right. And again, like most people who are reading me, that's actually part of the brand, is that they're really, really sexy. I don't shy away from whatever. Like, it's that's what they're looking for. Like if I suddenly wrote a book that had no love scenes and everything was closed door, people would be like, have you been kidnapped? Is this like a cry for help?
Like what happened to her?
Blink twice if you need us to send someone for you. Like I wouldn't that would not feel right. So, I'm not going to change what I write because somebody wants less sexy. Like there's plenty of people they can go buy for that. But at the same time, I don't judge her for not wanting it. It's just I just thought it was really funny that was the way it got put. So I'm like, I gotta share this. It's so good.
Jess Michaels isn't judging, but I am. Who don't want sex scenes? Okay, look. Okay, Jess. So we talked about your pen names. We talked about how your writing, well, not really so much as your writing style, but like the genre that you like to write, which is historical. So that brings us to the first segment here at the Brown Book series. It's called Name That Book.
Oh God, I'm very bad at this. I'm so stressed. Okay,
don't be stressed. Don't be stressed. So when we give you either a character or the main character, because you have a lot of series, so either the main character or
I'm so bad at this because people are like, "How come you never wrote a book for Bob?" And I'm like, I don't know who you're talking about. So I'm gonna be so excitingly bad at this. I'm so excited. Okay,
but some of you might get though.
Okay.
It's either hold on, that not just the character, it's a character or a passage or something related to that book. You have to name that book.
Okay, I'm so scared.
You ready? Don't be scared.
Yeah, no, I'm good. This is good.
Relax. Don't be scared. Okay. Name that book. The first character, Emma Liston.
That is the Daring Duke.
The Daring Duke. See? Okay. Get you. You're doing good. All right. Name that book. Now, this is a passage, okay?
Okay.
The real her. She shut her eyes. Oh, the real her was someone wildly different than the confident, popular actress seen on stage.
That's The Broken Duke, my favorite book.
Girl.
Oh, yeah. So there's two versions of that book. So there's The Broken Duke, which is just a regular book. And then we did a illustrated version, which I went to LA with Jen LeBlanc, who's a writer and a photographer. She does all the cover shoots. So she does all the images, and then there's a cover designer that takes those images and makes my covers. But we did a fully illustrated version of that. So it's pictures of the two most beautiful, fantastic humans in the world, like playing out my book. So it's great.
So smart though. I thought that was so smart. I'm like,
all Jen. Like Jen has done that with every single one of her books, and I'm the first person that she's done it with a book that wasn't hers. So we had just the best time in the world. I mean, it was so fun. I wish I could do it with all the books because it's so fun.
I wish you could too. It was good. I was like, okay, look at Miss Jess. Okay. Name that book. Jacob Dunnett.
Oh shit.
Oldie but goodie.
I don't know. That's so bad. I don't know my characters. This is why I put that tweet like a month ago where I was like, look, I've written 100 books. I'm gonna start using names or start using weirdo names. You're gonna have to all live with it. I have no clue. I'm gonna be so mad when I see it. Okay, yeah. I wouldn't remember that. That was so long ago.
It was long ago. I said she can remember. Okay, this one you have to get this one, okay?
Okay, I'm scared.
Don't be scared, okay? Name that book. Her husband has been murdered, and he was also a bigamist, making her the third of 3 wives.
It would be sad if I didn't know this one. It's the book that comes out tomorrow, The Unexpected Wife.
Yeah, if you didn't write this, if you didn't know this, I've been like, Jess, give me the name of your ghostwriter, because
what book? Although I do have to say I am 3 books ahead of this book writing, so it does feel like it's beginning to be like a long way out from that book.
I did see that. So tell us a little bit. Okay, so the new release, The Unexpected Wife, and this is book 1 of 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is a new series. It starts tomorrow. The series is called The 3 Misses. So that's the premise, is that these 3 women find out that they're all married to the same man, and he's also been murdered. And so it's the 3 of them getting their happily ever afters and getting to know each other and becoming friends, because I wasn't going to have them not like each other. It's not their fault it's nobody's fault that this guy was a jerk. Like they're not going to be fighting over him. He's not worth fighting over. So the first book is the investigator who's looking into the murder, and the 3rd wife, who this is not a spoiler, he very quickly clears as being able to have done this. And so he asks for her help in doing the investigation, because she obviously knew the victim a lot better than he could. So he brings her back to London she meets the other wives, and they together do this investigation of the murder. And there's a great big twist at the end, which everyone's been like, I never saw it coming. And I was like, so, and then the second book is one of the other wives, and the third book is one of the other wives. And all of these characters are kind of introduced in the first book, so they're all interacting with each other. And they're also getting released really fast. So this book comes March 9th. The next book is April 13th, and the third book is May 11th. So just like boom, 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 back to back. So that's the nice thing, is that you can read them out of order, but if you're one of those series reader people, you can they're going to come out back to back.
I absolutely like that. Now, the wife in this one, Unexpected Wife, she's the third wife. She's not the first one.
She's the third. Yeah, I wanted to be the third because I wanted her to have like the first wife that he was married to for a long time before he started acting like an idiot. Right. And then so I wanted this third wife to be the one that sort of had the least relationship with him, like the least positive. She was kind of forced into this marriage. She tried to climb out a window. Yes! She got dragged back in. She got forced into this marriage. So they never had much of a relationship. So I felt like her finding out he had been murdered and then instantaneously getting into a relationship with someone else would feel a little bit not as weird as someone who had been married to him for 5 years. Right. Like she's only been married to him for a really short time when he's murdered. So that was my thought process with it, was that starting with the third wife, plus the first wife is so great that I like kind of wanted to like drag it out so that before I did her book. So
I absolutely love that. Now, okay, so did you write all three books at one time and just kind of broke it up, or did you like, okay, I finished writing this one, okay, cool, now let me go to the next one?
Yeah, because it's three different. I mean, they're related stories because they're related characters, but and it's this overarching thing of this bigamist is the big thing. But I mean, it's a real series. I mean, they're three separate stories, and they were written as three separate stories.
It's three separate. Okay,
yeah.
You know, some people may write like a long ass book, and they be like,
they break it up. Yeah, no. This is really three separate. Like there's a absolute like happy ever after completely resolved book, and then there's there's not really issues left behind as far as from the main conflict and main characters. And then the second book is about the second wife and the brother of the bigamist, and then the third book is it's the first wife and my favorite human. So,
I absolutely love
the most grouchy, most irritated Duke on the planet. So
you like these Dukes? I said, look at her. She likes the Dukes, baby. I love it.
It's sort of fun to write that fairy tale. Obviously, it's intensely problematic, and it's something that like I recognize that entire thing is incredibly problematic in historical romance. So it's always a line that I'm walking between. I want to be realistic in that it is problematic, but at the same time, like tell that sort of fairy tale story. So I write a lot of Dukes, and the reason that is it's very, very marketable. Yeah. And I mean, you put Duke on a cover, and I will tell you from experience, it will sell more than a book that doesn't have Duke in the title.
Right.
So, I mean, part of it is a marketing consideration. And also, I mean, it's like, oh, here's a rich guy with a title. Like that's kind of, it's the fairy tale element of that, of like, and then it's that old timey, like, oh, you get to go and get married and go live in a castle. And there's still something to that. But historical romance has its little issues, not even little, it's large issues.
I love reading historical romance because I mean it takes you to a different place. It's like it's a fairy tale. It's like, listen, I'm gonna marry me a duke. We're gonna live in a castle.
Yeah, we're gonna live in a castle. We're gonna ride in a carriage. We're gonna have like a whole bunch of pretty dresses. Like, I don't think that element has to be lost. I just think that there has to be an expansion and a welcoming of more stories told by different voices and including realistic elements. I mean, historical romance has been so white traditionally, and now you're starting to see that change, and I love that. And so as a white author, then it becomes, I don't want to tell somebody's story that I shouldn't tell. I mean, there's stories I shouldn't tell. I should do everything in my power to welcome and encourage those stories and promote those stories, which I try to do.
You do a great job at it.
Thank you. Good. I try to, I think diversity is really important.
You can tell it's sincere. It's not that, we're in the Black Lives Matter movement, so let me do something. No, you can tell.
It's February, so let's talk about, I don't know, but I try not to do that. But also to bring more diversity to the world that I'm creating, which is something that I have always been a little afraid to do, but have started, because I don't want to step on toes. I don't want to create more pain.
Right.
But I also want to create more realism, because there were people of color in the Regency period who were living and thriving. There were LGBTQ humans that were in the world, And so it becomes, how do I enrich my world without overstepping into telling a story that doesn't belong to me? And then how do I support people that are telling that story that it does belong to them? Yeah. And so that's the place where we are now. But I'm still gonna write dukes and put them in pretty dresses.
Jess, that's why I was like, I need to call Miss old Jess Michaels. I'm telling you, I like it. Like, I've been watching you move about a year or two now. I'm like, okay then. I like it. And I love your books too. So speaking of books and dukes and all the sexy men that you write about, it brings us to the next segment in the Brown Book series called Who'd You Rather?
Ooh, okay. This I'm excited. This I'm ready for. Yes, if I remember who any characters are.
Exactly.
No, I'm just gonna guess. I'm just telling you. I'm just gonna guess.
No, you let us know, because I'm gonna give you two guys, and you're gonna tell me where you brother.
Okay. Yeah. No, all of them, but sure.
It's only a few. No, it's about a good 8 or 9 of them. I think about.
That would be that's a whole different kind of book that I'm not writing. I'm writing it though, and it's great, but I'm not writing it.
Just send that one to me. Okay. Who'd you rather? Morgan Banfield or Derrick Huntington?
Derrick, 100%. Not even have to think about it. He was so fun to write, because Derrick and Morgan are both from the Duke's by Blow series. It's actually related to my 1797 series. And Derrick is another investigator. I really like investigators who is looking into a jewel thief. Yeah, I love it. Well, I like a kind of every guy, working guy kind of hero. I think those are also. So I write my dukes, and I write like a dude who just investigates shit. Right. But he's looking into a jewel heist, essentially a very prolific jewel thief, and it's the heroine that he's. And again, this is not a spoiler. Like right at the beginning of the book, it's her. Yeah. And it's her. So they're sort of dancing around each other, but he's very bossy. And I like him a lot.
I picked Derrick too. I like Derrick. I'm like,
Morgan would be a lot of fun to hang out with, though. He's super fun. But if I was gonna pick, I would pick Derrick.
yeah. I could just imagine being pinned down up under Derrick, and he's saying stuff in my ear, just so.
He's a Tucker.
Yes. Like, what do you want me to do, Derrick? Okay, so.
Sure, whatever, dude.
whatever. However, just let me know where you want me to lay. Who'd you rather? Christopher Kit Collins or Robert Smithton, Duke of Rosefoot?
Robert, still same reasons. Kit is so nice. He's like the nicest guy in that series. He's super kind. He's really, really genuine. He's a great guy. I love that book because it's the last book of that series, and it deals with grief, and it deals with just misunderstanding and just trying to work it out and be like a good human. And there's a little girl in that book, and I love that book. But I mean, if you were gonna go for orgasm,
that's it.
It would be Robert, 100%. Yes. He knows what he's doing. He's very good at it. And he knows he's very good at it because he's kind of a shit about it.
Yes. And that's the thing. I was like, you're a shit talker, right? I love him.
Yeah, he's great. I love him so much.
Do you write about that? Okay. Who'd you rather? Jude Samson or Marcus Rivers?
Marcus, and everyone who's read Marcus would say Marcus. He owns an entire sex club.
I know.
And he's so stoic.
He is.
There are some still waters there. And it was so cute because I reused the Don Mill Masquerade a lot in books after I wrote it in his book. He's the proprietor of this notorious underground sex club
No.
that is my little sex club, and he pops up a lot, and because people go to that club a lot, and whenever they're at the club, I have to bring up Marcus. Somebody the other day had said, "When will Marcus get a book?" And I'm like, "Oh, sweetie, I'm so excited to tell you, we already has one." Because a lot of times the books are set like maybe earlier than his book, and so he doesn't have Annabelle yet. He's met Annabelle because they've known each other forever, but he has not married Annabelle yet. So it doesn't look like he's had a book yet if it's a book that's set in an earlier time. But I do love revisiting Marcus, so Marcus 100%.
Yeah, Marcus is awesome. And so of course, and Marcus, I was like, girl, how much what was the research like?
I made that up whole cloth. I'm sure they were doing shit like that, but I just completely made that up. And that's the cool thing, is now it's part of my world. So people are excited. I am plotting already a return to in the book that I just started. I'm like, we're going to the novel. And I think it's set late enough that Annabelle might be there, which makes me happy because no one ever sees Annabelle.
Oh my God, this is okay. I'm with it.
Scoop. It's a July scoop.
That's the July scoop. See, you coming to Brown Book. That's what I'm talking about. I love it. So y'all make sure in July, y'all be all over Jess's page figuring out what the hell is going on with Mark. Okay, Jess. Dead or alive? If you were hosting a dinner party and could invite 5 people from any era, who would it be? No fiction characters.
So just real people.
Real people. None of the dukes from your book. You can't invite Marcus.
Damn it. No. Right now, after when this is airing, like the Meghan and Harry interview with Oprah was like literally just last night. I would want to make the nicest dinner for Meghan and Harry. And they seem like they'd be cool to hang out with. So right now, in this moment, Meghan and Harry, just so I could wrap them in bubble wrap, protect them, and love them.
Yes, that was crazy. Oh my God. Oh, we're talking
about insane. All right, that's a whole other. Okay. So I mean, it's like everything terrible that I thought was happening, and then 50 times worse.
Yes.
So, but I would wrap them in bubble wrap and make them a nice dinner, and then have hopefully a very nice conversation, because they seem like they're both very smart, nice people.
Yeah.
So Meghan and Harry, that's 2. What I had 5. I feel like I should have an answer to this, but I don't, because it changes so often.
It does.
Right? Because my problem right now is I would want to invite people that I haven't seen for a year. You know what I mean? So I would pick some of my author friends probably. They would be very excited to hang out with Meghan and Harry also. So I would pick Jen LeBlanc, who's my friend, and she's a writer. She also writes historical romance. She's a photographer. She shoots all my covers because I miss seeing her so much. I would choose. Oh my God, now people are going to be mad if I leave them out.
Listen, she only got 5 people, y'all. I
only have 5 people, and I already have Meghan and Harry. So you guys are going to have to live with it.
Deal with it.
Yeah. I would probably pick my friend Catherine Smith, who writes 15 different pen names, so I won't list them all. And she writes urban fantasy, and she used to write historical. She doesn't write historical anymore, but she's resubmitting some books, we're putting out some old books. Again, because I haven't seen her for a long time. And who else would I pick? God, this is too much pressure.
You're doing good.
Right now I pick my mom probably, because I haven't seen my mom in a year, almost 2 years. So,
girl, if you have Meghan and Harry and you don't bring,
I have to invite my mom, right?
What? You're gonna get cussed out, and I'm gonna be like, "Yep, I told her to invite you, Mrs. Jess."
And a lot more people are gonna be mad about this because they want to be Meghan and Harry at this party.
Listen, you have to just send them a text message or something.
Yeah, everybody just show up, say hi, wave through the window.
I don't think they should have got enough of waving through windows. I think they.
Oh my God.
Jess, when did you first realize you wanted to be a writer?
I can't really remember a time when I didn't. I actually have these 2 little medals behind me on my thing. They're little, they pin onto your chest, like you're a general in a war or something. I don't understand it, but they're from the young authors. I don't know if they still do that in school now, but they had a competition, and I won that when I was in 5th grade and got to go to state competition. So I think I've always wanted to be a writer. I just didn't know that you could actually do it as a job. Everybody always, if you want to do something creative, oftentimes kids are told, well, you have to have a backup plan. You have to have another thing, and then you do that creative thing on the side, because nobody can make money as a creative, which I have not found to be true.
Right.
So I think that was always what I wanted to do. And then I sort of talked myself out of doing that until like I said, I was offered this opportunity from my husband who said, well, this is what you should do. So just do it. Like, you are happy doing this, so do it.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Author's moments. That's another little segment we do here at the Brown Book Series.
I like this.
I know. I was just looking at the time. I'm like, oh my God, we got to hurry up. This is so much fun. I'm just so happy that you're joining us.
Me too.
Okay. Author's moments. What's your most urgent priority for the rest of the year?
Always the writing. Like, that's always the most important thing for me, is to get the writing done, to get the books done. Because there's not really anything else. If there's nothing to publish and there's nothing to promote, then there's nothing else. So that's sort of the most urgent priority. We've been lucky enough that we've already had both of our vaccinations. So a secondary one would be to, I don't want to go crazy, I'm still wearing a mask, I'm not a monster, but like, right. I mean, there would be a little more opportunity to do a little bit more outside of the house. And since we've been very good, like, my next priority is probably to go to the zoo. Like, I get to go and do something like an adult human. So I'm gonna maybe do that, but mostly and that's always the answer. I mean, like, if I don't create something, I'm not feeding myself, because that's a big part of how I feed myself. But I don't mean like physically, I mean like emotionally, like right. Psychologically feeding myself. But and also physically, because this is how I make a living. But also there's nothing else if there's not books, essentially. So that's always
But you guys are in Texas, though. You guys are kind of like all the way open down there now, right?
Yeah, they never really. We have a great governor. It's great down here. We're working hard against voter suppression. So keep crossing your fingers for us.
I will. You are so
keep hoping. But I do have to say that Dallas has been, up until this point, when we're sort of going to get forced out of it, has been really good about having a city mandates and stuff, even when the state has been kind of crappy about it. So, you know, I mean, it's going to depend on places, you know, like one of our grocery stores is like, you have to still wear a mask, don't be crazy. And then another one's like, oh, whatever, like, do right. you. And I'm like, okay, so I'm going to go to the Kroger then? Great. I'll be at the Kroger. See you there.
With your mask on, okay?
Yeah, with my mask on. 2 masks on.
Oh, man. All right, author's moments. And being a novelist, what did you learn a little too late?
That's a really good question.
Yeah, you know,
I think for me, it was probably I listened too long to publishing professionals who told me that I couldn't, that was the only option. You know what I mean? I mean, indie publishing really took off in 2011, 2012, and I could have done in that then. And I mean, there was a real moment there, but I kind of convinced myself that I wouldn't be successful at it. And so, you know, I kind of stuck with, and I'm not sorry I did. I mean, Samhain was actually a very good experience, and it kind of helped me get my feet back under me. I met my editor, who's my editor for all of my books now. So I wouldn't change at all what had happened, but I think I wish I had that faith in my ability to be successful on my own and understood what indie publishing really was going to become when it started.
Okay, so your editor, because a lot of people, you know, now I'm so happy that we have this platform so we can ask like real questions, because a lot of people that are writers, they wanted to know about the editing process, being with a publishing company versus being indie. So are editors kind of like, are someone like freelance?
Yes.
Okay, because I always thought people just sign directly to a publishing company and then that's the
editor. So there are editors that are signed to a publishing company. They work for a publishing company, either full-time or as a contractor, depends on the publishing company.
Okay.
And my editor, she also works for a publishing company, but then she freelance edits on the side. Yeah, okay. And we were together at Samhain, and so when Samhain closed down, she was in between, and so I said, well, I really want you to still edit for me, though. Is that something you would be willing to do freelance? And she was like, yes. So she does some freelance people, and she does. She also edits for a
publishing company.
Yeah, for Harlequin, for Carina Press. So
so it's not a conflict. It's not a conflict because it's just all edited. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it's not. There's no conflict to it, and I think most of those publishers are much more flexible now than they probably were at the beginning. But there's a ton of great editors who are out there who have those credentials where they used to work for a publishing house and now they are entirely freelance, or there's people that are like her where they do some freelance work and they have some, and it's really just finding a slot and finding an editor that fits well and being willing to pay for that work as an indie. I would never, ever, ever not get my work edited. I mean, I think all of us, it's very hard as a writer to see forest for trees. It's really easy to just be in the trees and think like, this is great, or it's not great, or it's not working, or it's working. I mean, there's so many times when I send her, what I used to do was I would finish the book and then I would take a couple weeks off and then I would go through a first pass on my own and then I would send it to her. And it was around Christmas time. She was then going to end up being on her own. She couldn't see her family and we were trying to get her to come see us, but she was like, I can't leave. So I said, well, what can I do? Like, how can I help, because you're by yourself at the holiday. And she said, well, I don't have anything on my plate right now. Can you just do you have anything that I can work on? And I said, well, I just finished it though. And it's really rough. Do you want me to send that to you? And she's like, yeah. So I sent it and she came back to me and she's like, this is how you should just do it from now on. Don't do the first pass. You're fine. This isn't she goes, I think she's picturing it to be a massive mess. And that's not really, I'm a fairly clean writer. As far as it's not a huge mess that needs a whole bunch of fixing. So, I mean, there's lots of times when I send her a manuscript just been finished, literally I will type the end and then I'll attach it in an email, within the same 5 minutes. And I'll just say, look, I know that there's an issue here with whatever. And if you can help me figure out what the hell to do about that, that'd be so great. And sometimes it just gets sent, right? So sometimes I know that something, I'm like, I just don't think that this is working and I don't know, I'm not sure how to fix it. So then I have a couple weeks or 3 weeks or a month, whatever, however her schedule is, where she's working on it and I'm still thinking about it. Right. And then between the two of us, when she sends it back, it's like, okay, I see the issue that you're talking about. Or I don't feel like it's as much of an issue as you think it is. Are you sure? Or if you just strengthen it in this place, maybe that will work better. And so between the two of us, we kind of come up with some kind of solution. And I wouldn't want to do this on my own. I mean, I probably am capable of it after this long, but I need that impact, that feedback, and that sort of back and forth. So for me, we do that. So she does a pass and I do a pass. I send it back to her and she does a second pass. That's all included in what I pay her for. And then it comes back to me. And then I do a final look over and then I send it to my husband who does the publishing end. And then he sends it to a copy editor. And that's just for you missed a period, you put he and he meant her, stuff that Mackenzie catches. But by the time you've read a book 12 times, you're kind of blind to some of that stuff. You autocorrect it with your eye. So, I mean, if I read he and I meant her, then, because that happens a lot, I drop an R, not a lot, but enough. Then my eye will just correct it. I don't even see it. You go word blind, essentially. Right. So, and also by that, I have read this so many times and I hate literally everyone involved in this project. I want all these people to die. So it's at some point, I need the distance. So then we have copy editor pass and then it's done. And then it gets, it goes into whatever the next part of the process is, depending on how far out we are from publication. But yeah, I mean, if you're thinking about being indie, I would definitely think about hiring an editor. If you're thinking about going traditional, you don't need an editor. You don't need to pay someone to look at your book. Just continuing to work on your craft and learning about the industry and reading other books that are in your genre to understand how they're structured and how they work and how they sound and how they feel is really the best thing you can do for yourself. And then it's just, finding a good agent, I think, is really important if you're going to be traditionally published, just because those contracts are not made to be good for you. They're made to be good for the publisher. You need someone that's on your side, and an editor at that point in a publishing house.
Okay, that's what's up. Yeah, because there was a lot of questions. And I was like, child, I'm gonna ask Jess honey because she's indie all the way. Now, Jess, I have another question for you. Okay. You have your own podcast. I want to know why I haven't been invited to come on yet. I'm just I wants to know, Jess, what's the
so many, it's such a long list just because there's so many awesome people. So there's so many people that are on that list. It's crazy. So I apologize that you have felt left out, but it's just a whole thing. Yeah, it's insane how many awesome people there are. And so we end up with I'm usually 5 or 6 weeks ahead of we record a couple weeks before, so that it's just working through this extremely long list of people and trying to get, I mean, you do your podcast, like you reach out, some people get back to you, some people don't, you're chasing around to find the time. So, but yeah, I do a podcast every other week. It's on all the podcast channels. I don't do it on YouTube like you do, but because we don't do video, because I can't dress every 2 weeks. It's too much.
Nice. You look beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much. But yeah, so we talk about
everybody. What's the name?
It's called Journeys of Romance, and it's all about writing and publishing. So if you are interested in writing romance, or if you just are a reader, like it's interesting, I think, to just hear about like what people's process is, like how sort of writers work. Right. So we almost always talk about what someone's process is, how they became published, that sort of thing. And so if that's something that you're interested in, like you get to see that very wide rainbow of different ways that people write a book. Right. And because there's some, like, I mean, I'm a real heavy, like, I'm a very disciplined person. So I'm super focused. So I tend to have a roadmap. It has elbow room, but it's a map of where I need to go. And I have a specific time, not a specific time, but like I have a specific number of pages I need to write every day. I write those every day, 5 days a week. Like I know exactly how long it's going to take me to finish a book. I know when I want to push, like how much more of that than that I can write. I have a real box that I sort of work myself in. But there's people that are just like, whatever, and then they get to the end too, and I love to hear about that, because I'm like, how do you live? Like, how do you look at yourself in the mirror? Like, how do you do that? Like, I find that fascinating, right? That, right. Like, there's 10,000 different ways for 10,000 different writers to write a book, and now there's so many options for publication. So I've talked to people that were traditionally published first, like me, and went indie. I've talked to people that have only ever been traditionally published. I've talked to people that are only indie published. I've talked to people that are indie and have gone traditional. I've talked to people that are doing both at the same time, multiple pen names, one pen name, right. All romance, just romance, used to be romance. Like, so there's so many different paths, and there's not a wrong or right answer to any of them. And I think that's really important to share with people.
I absolutely love it, Jess. Well, listen, you're booked and busy. So whenever you can get me in, you know what I'm saying? Because I was like, well, I don't understand why I'm not even on her show. Let's get it. I was like, let me have her on my show first, and then. But no, I was like, I got to reach out to Jess. But you are right about that, because we are booked out until like July, and I was like, yeah, you waiting on them, then they hit you back and you be like, hey, listen, is it still open? I'm like, girl, sorry, but
no. Yeah, and I'm a planner, so it's like it's really hard, I don't know. It's hard to work with other people. It's like herding cats. So, but it's good. I mean, like, it's great when it works. And for the most part, I think Romancelandia is pretty pulled together. So we're used to this sort of thing, I think, more than any other genre.
Yes, I had to get used to it. I love it. That's why I jumped in here. I was like, I love romance, and I get to meet beautiful people like yourself. It's just been awesome. So, Jess, we're about to end our interview, and it's been great. Did you have fun?
I did. Yes. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. But before we ask you our last question of the interview, we want you to tell everybody where they can go to pick up this new release. Her new release comes out tomorrow, you guys. The Unexpected Wife. I'm really interested in this series, like really, 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 because
it's fun. I think it's one of the few times where I've actually stumbled upon something somewhat unique in historical romance, like the idea of like 3 women married to the same man, where the guy isn't really part of it. Like, he's not a hero in this book. He's a terrible human, and he got what he deserved. So it's kind of fun. But it is out tomorrow, March 9th. It's available at all online retailers, and it's available in paperback at Amazon. You should be able to ask. They probably will have to ask for it if you want it like in person at Barnes & Noble, but you can order it at Barnes & Noble. So pretty much anywhere where you can buy a book, you can find it. The second book, The Defiant Wife, is already up for pre-order everywhere. And the third book is up for pre-order everywhere except for Amazon, and it will be up on Amazon right around the time that The Defiant Wife comes up on.
Okay. So, where can they find everything about Jess? Tell us about your social media handles, your website, and when they can listen to your podcast.
So the podcast goes up every other week. It technically goes up on Tuesday. I promote it on Wednesday, but there's almost 100 episodes up there now. So dive in. Pick your favorite author and just dive on in. And that's called Journeys of Romance, and it's at all of the different podcast places. So if there's a place that it isn't at, you can reach out to me. My website is authorjessmichaels.com, and all of my social media handles are Jess Michaels BKS. So Jess Michaels Books, so Jess Michaels BKS. And I'm really active on Twitter. If you want to watch me scream into the political void, that's the best place for that. If you want to watch me be extremely nice, you can go to Facebook. And if you want to see pictures of my dog, you can go to Instagram.
I absolutely love it. Yeah, I did notice that you're a little different on Facebook than you are on Twitter. I was like, oh, she must be the other pen name on Facebook because she's real, real cheap.
I think because like Twitter is so much more conversational,
Yes.
like Facebook feels more like I am doing a promotional activity now. And so I feel like I am slightly more professional. I don't think it's fake. I think it's professional. Right. There. And then on Twitter, it's a much more conversational environment. And things go by so fast that like it's a lot harder for it to become like, and then everybody starts screaming. Like I had posted something about we had bought tickets for the online like inauguration concert, and I had posted a picture of that on my Instagram. And it went to Facebook as well as Twitter. I generally don't post anything too political on Facebook. And I swear to God, those ladies, some of them went insane. And I was like, okay, we're going to have this conversation.
Wow.
If you're a racist jerk, you can go on and not buy my books anymore. Like, that's fine with me.
Right.
So, but I mean, it's like this weird place that doesn't fit into anything else. So it's always kind of a, do I want to start a fight on Facebook today versus like, I genuinely always want to start a fight on Twitter.
And Twitter, they'll be ready to fight with you. All you got
on Twitter, everybody's like,
yes, girl.
And on Facebook, it's a page too. It's like a professional page. It's not like a profile where you get to really have interaction. You get to see other people's stuff, which thank God, it's too much. My brain would explode. So it feels much more like it feels like a wall with like here's stuff, and I try to interact and stuff, but it's not the same energy. I guess it's still me.
It's still you. I love you on Twitter. I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah, I'll be on Twitter like
I will punch somebody on Twitter for sure.
I got your back. Together, honey. Okay, Jess. All right, last question of the interview. If you were writing a book about your life, what would the title be?
I'm sure it would be I'm so fucking tired. Jess Michaels, I'm so tired. Because I mean it's a very pedal down to the floor, sort of like always working, always writing, always creating, always doing sort of life. I like it that way. That's how my brain works. But every once in a while, I'm like, man, I'm so tired.
I get it.
I'm tired story.
Oh, dang! That'll be another series.
Yeah. Nobody wants to read it. It's just people taking like copious naps together, not even fooling around. Just like, would you like to take a nap? Yes. All of their love language is naps.
A mess. Bravo series. Everybody, please go check out Jess Michaels' new book. It releases on the 9th. It releases on Tuesday. On March 9th. Yep, March. It released March 9th, and it's The Unexpected Wife. Go make sure you go check it out, and then go ahead on and do the little pre-order click for the second book that's in the series. The third book we can't pre-order that one yet, right?
You can pre-order it anywhere but Amazon, because Amazon's weird about the way that it counts sales. So we usually put it up a little bit further along, but it's on pre-order. If you buy on Apple or Kobo or Google or Barnes & Noble, you can pre-order it already as well.
Okay.
But it's a link at the back of the book. So if you read to the end of the book, you can just pre-order that. You can buy the next one. And then when that one comes out, when you read the end of that book, you can order the next one.
Sounds good. Everybody, Brown Book Series, please, a round of applause for Miss Jess Michaels.
Thank you again for having me.
Thank you. Hold one second for me, Jess. Hold on.
Okay.
All right, everybody, if you like that content, and I know you do, just go ahead on and subscribe and hit the notification bell below, okay? I'll have everything about Jess Michaels in the description box below, so you can go and check her out. Follow her on Twitter. She is a hoot. It's absolutely crazy. I absolutely love it. Make sure you go check out her new novel, Unexpected Wife, and go ahead on and pre-order everything else. After that, before that, just go to her website and just buy everything, man. A historical romance, The Regency, It's awesome. Absolutely love her. Oh, next week. So next week, we will have Miss Cheryl Lister will be in the Brown Book Studio. So make sure you come back next Wednesday at 6 o'clock. And as always, 6 o'clock right here, every Wednesday night is the Brown Book Series. Then at 7 o'clock, please go ahead over to Reese Ryan's channel. Author Reese Ryan has her channel at 7 o'clock. So here with me at 6, with Ryan, with Reese at 7, and Iris Bolling has Iris Moments every Wednesday night on Cruise Radio at 8 o'clock. And then Jess Michaels, she promotes it on her podcast on Wednesdays, and she upload her stuff on Tuesdays. Go to her website and check us out. So y'all Wednesday is gonna be full, and we're going about it. Thank you so much. Remember, next week, award-winning author Miss Cheryl Lister. You guys have a good one, and I'll see you next week.
Open up your brown book, baby. It's for you, it's for us. The fantasies, no one can judge us, no one can judge us. This is for us. Open up your brown book.